Today, we're talking about silicon. And it's one of those things that's so incredibly common. I mean, you literally walk on it at the beach, but at the same time, it's so powerful that it runs our entire digital world. Okay, so here's a question for you, and it kind of sounds like a riddle, right? What do a beach and a supercomputer have in common? I mean, think about it. On one hand, you've got the endless shifting grains of sand, and on the other, the absolute peak of human technology. What on earth could possibly link those two things? Well, the answer is silicon. That's the bridge. That humble little grain of sand, after going through this insane process of refinement, becomes this, a hyper-pure silicon wafer. This is the literal foundation, the canvas, for the microchips inside your phone, your computer, pretty much every piece of modern tech you can think of. So in this explainer, we're going to follow that incredible journal. We're going from a common mineral, just stuff buried in the ground, all the way to the hyper-pure crystalline heart of our digital age. It's a story that's part massive industrial power and part mind-boggling microscopic precision. Let's get into it. All right, first things first, let's start with the basics. If you look at the periodic table, you'll find silicon Si right under carbon. And that spot, it's super important. Just like its famous cousin carbon, it has 4 electrons to play with in its outer shell. That lets it build these really stable, complex structures. But, and this is the key, it has these totally unique electrical properties that make it the world's #1 semiconductor. Okay, so if silicon is the bedrock of all our tech, where do we get the stuff? Well, you can't just, dig up a nugget of pure silicon. It doesn't work like that. See, silicon loves oxygen. It's almost always bonded with it. So to get the pure silicon, we have to literally rip it away from the oxygen it's clinging to. And here's the wild part. It's not rare. Not at all. In fact, after oxygen, silicon is the second most common element in the Earth's crust. It makes up more than a quarter of the whole thing by weight. I mean, it is literally everywhere, right under our feet. Yeah, get this. Over 90% of the Earth's crust is made of silicate minerals. And the silicon we need for everything comes from stuff like this. Just plain old quartzite rock, or even just sand. Isn't that amazing? To think that the journey to building a supercomputer starts with a rock you could literally just pick up on a hike. So how do you get the silicon out? Well, it's a process that's all about brute force. It's called carbothermal reduction. You take that quartzite, you mix it with carbon, usually from coke, and you just blast it in a massive electric arc furnace. We're talking incredibly high temperatures. The heat forces the carbon to basically steal the oxygen away from the silicon. What's left is molten silicon, which gets tapped off, and what you get is something called metallurgically grade silicon, which is about 99% pure. Okay, 99% pure. That sounds pretty good, right? Well, for making steel alloys and stuff, it is. But, and this is the most important part of the whole story, for electronics, 99% is basically useless. It's nowhere near pure enough. To unlock silicon's real magic, you have to get rid of almost every single foreign atom. So why the obsession with purity? It's because of what silicon is, a semiconductor. Think of it like this. It's not a superhighway for electricity like copper, and it's not a dead end like glass. It's more like a road with a bunch of gates. And its special power is that we can open and close those gates with incredible precision. We do that by adding tiny, deliberate impurities, a process called doping. But, and here's the catch, for that to work, you have to start with a perfectly, absolutely clean slate. And when I say clean, I mean it's almost hard to wrap your head around. For chips, silicon has to be 9 nines pure. That's 99.9999999% pure. Let me put that into perspective for you. That means for every billion silicon atoms, you're allowed to have at most 1 single atom of something else. 1 in a billion. This is genuinely one of the purest materials humans have ever made. It's that insane level of purity that makes the next step even possible. From that molten, hyper-pure silicon, scientists grow these massive, absolutely flawless single crystals, often using the Chozokrawski process. The goal is a perfect, unbroken crystal structure. These huge ingots are then sliced into those iconic paper-thin wafers. That's the perfect canvas you need to start building a microchip. And really, it was this ability to create these perfect, ultra-pure silicon crystals that changed, well, everything. It kicked off what we now call the Silicon Age. Let's just quickly look at how that happened. Once we had pure silicon, the breakthroughs just started coming one after another. it all kicked off in 1940 when a guy named Russell Ohl discovered the PN junction. That's the absolute basic building block for all this stuff. Then, fast forward to 1954, Bell Labs makes the very first transistor out of silicon, which was a huge improvement. But the real game changer? 1959. Robert Noyce figured out how to put an entire circuit on one tiny piece of silicon, creating the first integrated circuit, and boom, the modern world was born. And that really is why we live in the Silicon Age. We talk about the Stone Age, the Bronze Age, the Iron Age. They're all defined by the material that shaped civilization. Well, for us, it's silicon. It's no coincidence the capital of the tech world is called Silicon Valley, right? But hold on, the story isn't just about microchips. Not even close. Remember that 99% pure stuff we talked about, the metallurgical grade silicon? Well, that stuff and all the other compounds silicon makes are incredibly useful for a million other things. Silicon is a real chameleon. Just think about it for a second. Silicon is a key part of the cement that builds our cities. It's the silica in the glass in our windows and the ceramics in our kitchens. As silicone, it's those flexible polymers you see in everything from bakeware to sealants. It's used to make steel stronger, and it creates super tough abrasives. I mean, this stuff is a true workhorse, and it's hiding in plain sight everywhere. And that versatility is just mind-blowing. It stretches from the totally microscopic to things you use every day. Like, look at this. On the one side, you've got diatoms. These are tiny little aquatic organisms that build these incredible, intricate skeletons for themselves out of silica. It's nature's engineering. And on the other side, pure human chemistry, that flexible, heat-resistant silicone we all know. It's the same element being used by both nature and technology to create totally different but amazing structures. And get this, here's something you probably didn't know. Silicon is actually important for our health too. For us. It plays a key role in making collagen, which helps keep our bones, our hair, and our skin strong and healthy. So yeah, we literally have this incredible element woven right into our own bodies. So, from the Earth's crust to the heart of our most advanced technology, and even inside of us, silicon's journey is it's remarkable. But the story isn't finished, not by a long shot. So the question is, what's next? Look, for decades, silicon has been the undisputed king of electronics, no question. But we're always pushing the limits, right? Researchers today are exploring all kinds of crazy new things, like silicon quantum dots, using silicon for light-based computing, that's silicon photonics, and even new ways to use it for storing energy. This one element, born from simple sand and forged in fire, has already built our entire modern world. So the only real question left is, what are we going to ask it to build for us tomorrow?